Morning. You're listening to Insurance Matchmaking, your path to health, life, and Medicare coverage with Matt Libby Insurance. And now, sharing his knowledge, here's your host, Matt Libby.
Welcome back to Insurance Matchmaking. Got a little bit of news today. Some, I guess, is kind of good news. Some of it, I don't know. But, well, it's kind of mixed. But first off, I wanted to say that you hear a lot of ads on this station for the Ethos Life with the low-cost life insurance, easy quotes. You can go straight to them or call an 800 number. And also you hear the Medi-Share commercials. Those are two avenues that I actually can help you with. You do not have to go out of state, call an 800 number. You can still get local help for those. So I just want to reiterate that those are things I can help with. And on that line about the Medi-Share, and I kind of wanted to go into that. I've got to be careful. I don't say too much because there's certain restrictions of what I can say, what I can't say. But I have decided to go ahead and add Medi-Share to what I offer my clients or potential clients. And one of the reasons for that is we do believe that the extended or increased tax subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare plans, is going to go back to the pre-2024 levels, which you're going to have people who are not getting as much tax credit or some who are getting it right now who aren't going to be eligible because the 400% income cap may be put back on. That I still don't know yet, but we're getting ready for that just in case. Have been hearing some rumblings of our long-term, short-term plans where you can get 3 one-year short-term plans, that it's looking favorable. That's probably going to be back in place here sometime soon. So that helps alleviate some of the issues for people not getting a ACA plan, either the missed enrollment or the costs were just too much even with some subsidy, or their income is high enough they're not eligible for any subsidy. And so a lot of times you have people elect to just not get insurance because it's so expensive and take their chances. And I never recommend that. There's a lot of avenues that can still be affordable that we can help you with, Medi-Share being one of them. Generally, what I've noticed for a comparable marketplace insurance plan, it's usually about half the cost for an individual or for a family. So that's some options there. The other thing is, and just kind of get in a little detail, because as we have to say, Medi-Share, it's a Christian health sharing network. It is not insurance. It works very similar to insurance. It helps you with your healthcare costs, very similar to insurance. But there are certain things, aspects of it that aren't insurance. One of the things is you have an annual household portion. That's what works like a deductible, and a little bit different than the deductible. It is a set amount for the whole family, so for the whole household. So whether it's a single person, a couple, or a family, that annual household portion is the same. So it doesn't matter, it can be a $3,000, it can be $6,000, $9,000, $12,000. That's the annual household portion, whether it's a single person or whether it's a family. That being said, like I said, it works like a deductible, and you pay 100% of your health costs until you've hit that annual household portion. So a lot of times people are wanting, well, I've got kids. Kids get sick, kids get immunizations. We go to the doctor a couple times a year. Everybody does because we get the sniffles or something, and I don't want to have to pay a big payment on that. There are plans that kind of match up with those Medi-Share plans, and will cover that. They'll cover, you have a copay for so many doctor visits. You'll have some either prescription discounts or copays for generics, and some other things in there that will kind of fill the gap of that annual household portion. And so a lot of times it makes sense is to get a plan with the higher household portion, because if you have a catastrophe where you're in the hospital, you're going to meet that household portion. And these go-along plans or side plans or supplemental plans, however you want to describe them, even though those are reimbursing you for your costs, you still get credit for the bill that you paid going towards your annual household portion. So when the time comes that you've met your annual household portion, you've had some support getting there, and then those costs are shared. And those plans can go along with a standard medical plan, whether it's a short-term plan that has a high deductible or it is a marketplace plan with a high deductible. A lot of the plans out there are very affordable if you take that high deductible, but then you're paying for everything along the way. People go, what's the point of having insurance? And I always compare it's kind of like, having a car. I've had my car insurance for years, and they haven't paid for a single one of my oil changes. So those will come in and fill some of those gaps in, so you're not paying a big extravagant fee. And the reason I bring that up is generally if you look at what the cost is of plan and you look at the low deductible versus the high deductible, these supplemental plans that fill the gaps, you usually can add those in for a lot less money than you would going for the lower deductible. And again, most plans, you're not going to hit that deductible. There's some plans out there like with a $1,500 deductible. You could kind of hit that maybe with normal care. You happen to have, you have to have a gallbladder surgery, or the doctor schedules a couple MRIs during the year, and you might hit that deductible, but you still paid 100% till you hit that deductible. So was it really worth spending $300, $400, $500 extra a month to have that lower deductible versus paying $100 to $200 for a supplemental plan and just paying an extra $100 instead of $200, $300, $400, and to have those copays and such for the lower amounts? So those are some things we could do to augment it. And the beauty of these plans, there's no enrollment period. You can call us up next week and we can get you a plan scheduled, and then have it in place the next day, that day or the next day. Depending, some companies are a little different. Some will let you, the day you apply, be your effective, your start date. Some of them are the next day. There's some plans out there that are 5 days. So there's some restrictions. Some of them, they won't cover anything for the first 30 days, but you can get it in place right away and start that 30-day period. Because again, if you're going to use it within 30 days, you knew you had some problems and you bought insurance so it would pay, and that's not how insurance works. So that's one of those things. I just kind of wanted to cover that. So those supplemental plans, and we have added a new company that is working that. That's what I'm talking about. I'll probably put a link on that on my website, maybe on my Facebook, so keep an eye out for that. The other thing, like I said, I've got some news. One of the things I'm doing now is I'm running some ads. I've added a couple more states. I think I might have mentioned that last week. Added a couple more states to my offering. Of course, I always, I stress to my listeners that use a local agent, but sometimes there are still people who are doing like what I'm saying. I'm advertising in other states to look for new clients, and one of the reasons doing that, one, is to grow my business. The other is I'm providing a service to them that I feel maybe they're not getting from somebody else. They may be being misled, and I have this opportunity to share some options with them that might give them some better coverage and better protection that they didn't realize was available to them. So my target audience is actually veterans, and it's veterans on Medicare. So you may see ads out there. I just started the ads running. The one has an Apache helicopter, so if you're a military veteran, you probably know exactly what an Apache helicopter is. The other one is the Cold War Service Medal. So figure as other Cold War veterans like myself are probably the age of Medicare. And so those things, hopefully those are going to be a couple of images. They go, oh, what's this? That's a veteran thing. Oh. And then they can find out that they're actually getting to talk to another veteran who has, and talk to a veteran who is on Medicare. And so I can talk intelligently about it and also understand their issue. That's one of the things I notice a lot of times in some of my Facebook groups, that people will talk about certain ways medical care is for veterans or how it works with Medicare, and they're completely wrong with what they're talking about because they've heard what somebody else has told them and they're running with it, and sometimes it can be a little misleading. And like I said, and I'm still learning too. I'm not always, I don't always have the right answer for these things either. But it is troubling when people are presenting themselves as being an expert on something and they're giving the wrong answer. So that's one of the things I'll be able to help my fellow veterans on that. And if you happen to see the ad on Facebook, go ahead and like and share it or something. It helps other people see it. and let them know that I can help them. But I have added South Carolina and Texas as 2 new states, so we're kind of staying bordering. I know we don't border Texas, but I already had Arkansas. So I had Tennessee, which borders Arkansas. Now Arkansas also borders Texas. And then, of course, Tennessee also borders South Carolina. And I have Ohio and Kentucky already. So I've got this kind of central area, so kind of a southeast conference. I haven't expanded to Georgia or North Carolina yet. That will probably come here sometime this year, Alabama possibly, and just kind of take it as it goes. But that helps me increase my reach, and hopefully can get some new clients and keep growing my agency. Maybe needing to hire some new agents here, as that if we get really busy with these leads coming in and I can't handle them all myself, and may need some help on that. So who knows? Check back in a month or two, or if you're thinking about getting an insurance business, someone who needs to change their career, would like to maybe work from home. That's something I can help with too. You don't have. There's a couple of ways I can help someone if they decide they would like to be an agent. I could hire them and pay them a wage or a salary, and then pay them a portion of the commission. Of course, they're going to share their commission with me if I'm paying them. The other aspect is, and again, there could be a way we share the commission, or if somebody just decides they want to try it, they want to go on their own, but they want to know, they need help getting started. They need help getting the contracts. That's something I can help with, and I could possibly get overrides on their production, but they're going to earn their own commission. So generally what I run into is I have a couple times I'll have people, check if I'm hiring, or they're interested in maybe getting in, but they're looking for a job. They're looking for someone who's going to give them a paycheck next week. And right now I'm not in the position to take on anybody new that I'm going to be paying a paycheck. Now that could change in a couple of weeks. Who knows? So always keep in touch, always, and if you're interested or curious about being in the insurance business, you can always send in a resume. We can always set up a time to talk. I don't mind sharing what I may be able to help you with, and come on in and we'll see. You can start part-time. I've had people do that, and generally it's kind of funny is in this business you can work it part-time, but you need to treat the part-time like a full-time job. And I know that sounds kind of strange, but it's, maybe if you're only working 1 day a week, or you're working, you work a day job and you want to spend 3 to 4 hours in the evening, and maybe spend 10 to 20 hours a week working on the business. You've got to work those 10 hours. You can't say, well, I'm working my side business and you're playing video games, or you're doing, what do they call it now, doom scrolling in the reels, and I catch myself doing that too. So I'm not saying everybody does that, but it looks like we're coming up on the break. Like I said, I've got news to share. I'm going to share some other things after the break, and after these commercials, we'll be right back.
Strong communities start with strong connections. That's why Tri-Light and AEC have built a 100% fiber network for homes and businesses across our region. As a business serving our community, you need fast, reliable connectivity you can count on. With gig speed fiber and local 24/7 support, we're here to keep your business running smoothly. Let's talk about how Tri-Light can power your success. Learn more by calling 833-847-0824 or by visiting trilight.net. Join Upper Cumberland Habitat for Humanity for their Race to Build Hope 5K Run Walk, Saturday, March 29th at 8 a.m. at the Livingston Central Park. The race is supporting Upper Cumberland Habitat for Humanity's mission to build affordable homes and strengthen communities. So lace up and join the fun Saturday, March 29th at 8 a.m. at Livingston Central Park. There will also be a restore truck set up in the public parking lot across from Central Park from 9 to 12 this Saturday for people to drop off any donations they have. To register, visit uchabitat.org.
And now, back to Insurance Matchmaking with Matt Libby Insurance.
All right, and we're back. And I mentioned before the break, we got some news. One of the things I covered at the beginning of the show, maybe you're tuning in later. 2 things that you hear advertised on this radio station are Ethos Life Insurance and Medi-Share. Those are two things that I also offer. So you do not have to call an 800 number to take advantage of those programs. The other thing I wanted to cover, I did mention we've added a new company for basically an indemnity plan that will pay for like doctor visits and part of a cost for emergency room hospital stay that will help you repay or pay for your deductibles on your health plans in the annual household portion for a Medi-Share plan. And so it can help with that, help fill those gaps. And it doesn't matter if you don't have to have your other insurance with me. I can still help you with that plan. And as I mentioned before the break, that there is no enrollment period for those type of plans. So you don't have to wait for an enrollment period. And that's being said, we're coming up to the end of an enrollment period. This weekend will be it. Pretty much it on April 1st. We'll be in our second quarter of the year, and one of the things that ends on March 31st is the Medicare Advantage open enrollment period. So that's that time. If you wanted to switch your Medicare Advantage plan, we could still do that we can do that before Tuesday. So as you're listening to this on Saturday and you decide, I want to change my Medicare Advantage plan, we could still do that prior to Tuesday and have it start on Tuesday. Also, we still have an ongoing SEP, as we call it, a special enrollment period for a natural disaster or a FEMA disaster, so sometimes it's called that. Because of the damage caused by Hurricane Helene, we have an ongoing disaster special enrollment period, and that has not been canceled yet. To take advantage of that special enrollment is you have to have missed a prior time frame special enrollment to change your Medicare plan. So it may have been, maybe you didn't make a change during the annual election period from October 15th to December 7th, or come April, you didn't do anything during this annual open enrollment period, and you could have maybe done something then. You still have that opportunity to use that disaster SEP. Now, here's where the big news is, and could be kind of controversial, is in December, there was a memo that went out from CMS and said that brokers, as of April 1st, were no longer going to be able to assist Medicare beneficiaries. That's you if you have Medicare. That's what you're called, as a Medicare beneficiary. That we were not going to be allowed to help you enroll in that, using that disaster SEP to get your plan. You were going to have to call Medicare, and we always say it's just 1-800-MEDICARE. And yes, as a client pointed out to me this week, you end up with an extra digit when you use those numbers. But that is how they do it. It's 1-800-MEDICARE. And of course, if you're using your cell phone, you don't need to use the 1, and you can hit send and not hit that number for the E and still get the call to go through. But that's the easy way to remember what the number is to dial. So that was going to be the only way that you were going to be able to get enrolled in that plan. Now, that probably would work fine for the individual, but if we were the ones that spent time working with you and helping you and realize, oh yes, we can help you get another plan, here, call this 800 number, we get nothing for that. And granted, if that was what was going to help you, yes, I would have given you the 800 number, but we like to get paid for what we do. And so the good news for us as brokers and as licensed agents is now we can get paid for helping someone change their plan because they missed an opportunity to change it, and possibly because of the disaster. Maybe they moved to a different part of the state. Maybe they did lose their home back in, when was that, September, when the hurricane came through. So it helps a lot of people. The downside of this, and the reason I bring this up is in my insurance groups, a lot of people are discussing that, hey, this isn't a good thing. And because it's a good thing for the call centers. Those are the ones that have been doing the most because they're the ones that are pushing to find any way that they can change your plan. And they may not have your best interest at heart. They just want their job. They have a quota to meet. When they get you on the phone, their sole job is to get you on is get you on a different Medicare Advantage plan. It's plain and simple. They're not there to try to sign you up on a drug plan. They're not there to try to sign you up on a Medicare supplement plan. Now, there are legitimate call centers out there that will do like I do, and there's a lot, and most what we call field agents. What we do is we help you figure out what's going to be the better option for you to get a Medicare supplement, to get a Medicare Advantage, or to change your Medicare Advantage plan. And, you don't know how many times I've talked to somebody and say, yep, you're right. You need to keep the plan you got. But I don't have one that's going to have better benefits for you. If you're not happy with the company, this plan, Grant, I want to try to put you on a new plan too, because I don't get paid to talk to you. I get paid to enroll you in a plan. And that's the way all agents work. And so basically, now, again, in the call centers, a lot of them, they get paid to talk to you because they're paid to be there. But if they're not writing enough business, they won't keep the job. And so, and like I said, those call centers, it's all about getting a new Medicare Advantage plan customer. So a lot of times they'll use that disaster enrollment period. And the problem is it may not even apply. But they submit the application and some of them slip through the cracks and get approved anyway, when maybe it didn't apply. So, and that hurts people like me that maybe enrolled that person in their plan to begin with, and they got caught by a misleading ad, or they got hounded by robocalls and happened to answer the phone. And the other downside there is too, a lot of times, is that elderly parent that's sitting at home by themselves watching TV while you're at work because they've moved in with you because they need care and you're handling their Medicare business, but that ad with the big 800 number across the bottom of the screen, and they got their cordless phone there and they call that number and they say yes to all the questions, not really realizing what questions are being asked, and they get enrolled into another plan. So that's one of the things I would say. If you do have a parent, and that was the thing when I was doing this with my previous hierarchy, and would get leads from them, that because we would get people who called in, and then it was our job to get the more information from them to be able to enroll them in a plan. And I've had a couple of adult children call me upset that I called their parent, and I'm kind of like, I didn't just call your parent out of the blue. I returned their phone call. So sometimes that they're calling and they're signing up for things and they don't realize what they're signing for. They think they're talking to Medicare. I had a client recently that thought she was talking to TennCare or Medicaid because she was trying to get some stuff done. Oh, I know what it was. It wasn't I was talking to. It was her son had come home and said, who are you talking to? And she said, I'm talking to TennCare. And he got on the phone and talked to, and it was, the person was not being tricky. They were a legitimate agent, but the lady didn't know who she was talking to, and so that's some issues we run into. So we, again, that's why you want to make sure you're talking to someone local. But I would say one of the things to be sure to do, if you have an elderly patient who you're elderly parent, and you have power of attorney for their medical care and such, make sure they don't have their Medicare card. Make that red, white, and blue card that has their Medicare number on it. Make sure you have that secure somewhere in their medical cards. It shouldn't be something that's just sitting in their wallet when they're sitting there watching TV, and maybe they have diminished mental capacity, because if they're told to can you take out that red, white, blue card out of your wallet and give me that number? That's all somebody needs to be able to sign you up on a plan. And you're calling in a call center, you're on those recorded lines, and they'll ask the questions, they'll get the yes answers, and the person switched. And I say that kind of as a complaint, because I've had clients call me, I got messed up, I got signed up for this plan, or we see it in our Facebook groups of people talking, my client got tricked in this. It's like, well, they maybe kind of got tricked, but they're usually not telling the whole story either. And I'm talking about not people who have dementia, but they keep seeing these ads. They get the stuff in the mail about the food cards, the Part B give back, the money back in your check, and those all are, they're legitimate programs, but not everybody qualifies, or that plan may not be the best plan for them. And that's something I help people with and try to get, see. One of the things that we do is a lot of times, like some of these plans are very generous in the Part B give back, but they're going to cost you more in other places. Most of them you'll give up the dental coverage if you're getting the give back. And your per day in the hospital and your maximum out of pocket are usually going to be a higher amount. But if you're not using your medical benefits, those extra $40, $50, $100 back on your check comes in very handy, because you got that zero premium advantage plan, and then you're getting money helping you pay Part B. That really helps. But what we suggest there is, like I talked about before the break, those supplemental plans that fill the gaps. We can get you a plan that's very affordable, and you still have some help paying your Part B premium. But if you do end up in the hospital, you've got something that's going to pay that. Or if you do get cancer and you have to pay that 20% of the cost, and you have that high maximum out of pocket, you're going to have that money to cover it. And if you do the math on a cancer plan, how little it costs to have a $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 cancer plan that will pay upon diagnosis, that you can put that money in the bank and cover all the expenses that come with cancer plans. I talked about, I think a couple of weeks ago, that 65% of the costs associated with cancer treatment are not covered by insurance. There's things like travel and gas money, airline tickets, hotels to go out of town, or paying for a treatment that's not covered by your insurance. There's a lot of things that come up that aren't going to be covered by your insurance, and that's something we can help with. And if you are doing one of those give back plans, you can put that money towards other coverage and have more coverage than you had, and still be getting some money back. So that's something we'd love to sit down with anybody and see if we can help you on that. And we might still be able to get a special enrollment period this time of year. And as I said, if you see my Facebook ads that are for the vet, talking about the veterans may be qualified for some extra money back, please share those. And if you are a veteran on Medicare, please give us a call, see if we can help get you some more coverage and actually put some money in your pocket. So until next week, remember, at Met Libby Insurance, we can cover you from head to toe. Doesn't have to cost you an arm or a leg. Be sure to go to insurancematchmaking.com and click on the YouTubes there that are the past shows. If you're new to this show, we've got over a year's worth of shows that are online on YouTube. And please subscribe to the YouTube channel. That helps me get word out to more people, and hopefully I'll get a little better and actually start doing some YouTubes where I'm covering some of the subjects I cover here on the radio, but with some visual aids, and kind of show you. It kind of might make a little more sense when you're seeing a video of it. But until next week, stay tuned, and we'll talk to you then.
You've been listening to Insurance Matchmaking with Matt Libby, your path to health, life, and Medicare coverage with Matt Libby Insurance.